Thanks for the privilege.
Perfect.
Thanks for the privilege today to share a little of my journey. Before I begin, I would like to express the utmost gratitude to Sharon and her team for all you've done over the years. I'm not a morning person. I used to do a lot of night duty, but I get up every Saturday morning and listen to these calls. And because I'm a bit slow in the morning, I've got a few notes. So who am I, you ask? My name is Chris Pitcher. Why should you listen to this woman? With your permission, I'll tell you a little of my story. Being a nurse is not just about a professional role you do. It's the very core and essence of your being, caring and doing that with the utmost integrity, because people's lives were at stake. It was a great privilege nursing for over 49 years, having only recently retired, but forever committed to wellness management. My career embraced all facets of nursing, birth to death. My qualifications include intensive care, that was in both adult critical care and neonatal critical care. I was a midwife. I had a diploma in ward management and also a degree in health administration. Now, please excuse me if I talk a bit basic at times. It's everyday nurses talk. I even have to admit I am really dumb. I have no idea why there's a toilet paper issue of recent, because the majority of people are full of shit and actually don't go to the loo enough. In fact, if you have good digestion, you should go to the loo 2 or 3 times a day, not once a day, but after every meal. A lot of my career involved paediatric in hospitals, schools and homes. It was not uncommon for children to be at hospital because they were full of shit, largely because of the absolute garbage that they ate. Growing up in my day, fairy floss was a big thing. Now I know more. I just about have a cardiac arrest every time I see kids eat sugar loaves. Now my nursing career embraced nutrition at many levels. When I started nursing, and for a few years, it was actually the nurse's role to plate out the meals from the food trolley. It was over that food trolley way back in 1969, I met Pauline Hancock, who's one of my beautiful friends and leaders in my Manatech team. 1979, I was the charge nurse of the endocrine, metabolic and gastroenterology ward for a few years. Very quickly, I had to learn about hormones, metabolism and gut metabolism. So I know my shit. I'm an expert on it. So much so, one of the doctors of the metabolic team told me I was going to be giving a talk at a multidisciplinary health conference about enteral nutrition interstate later in the year. What's that, you say? That's feeding people via tubes in their stomach and duodenum with synthetic formula. Well, I had to learn everything for that presentation, and it actually went very well. At this conference, one of the keynote speakers from the USA spoke about home parental nutrition, newly incorporated in the USA. That's feeding people intravenously, no food at all at home. Well, the landmark thing that occurred following that conference was Dr. Phillips and I set up the program at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, the first of its kind in Australia. What a learning curve we went on. A few things I learned about facilitating this and what good life lessons were. 1, embrace the fear, get over it, and do what you can. 2, the power of teamwork, encouraging one another. It's so, so powerful in all aspects of our life. The power of attitude. The first person on the program had the most resilient, beautiful spirit of anyone you could ever meet. She embraced everything with such incredible attitude. She would fill a bedpan or a vomit bowl in seconds, and she would be smiling at the end. Her health challenges were huge, and she did die 18 months later, but she was able to do that surrounded at home by her family. Nearly 2 decades later, I incurred an injury while working on a surgical ward one day. I prolapsed my lumbar and sacral disc, something that is a common occurrence for nurses. I did everything I could to facilitate healing. In fact, in that first year after the incident, I had 241 health-related visits, which incorporated physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, doctor's appointments, etc., etc. Things got worse, not better. At that time, I was still working about 4 hours a day, 3 to 5 days a week, mainly doing odd jobs in maternity, before having to give up work because I had developed chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, something that I had found incredibly frustrating and debilitating. I did 5 international certificates on glyconutrient technology in 2009, conducted by Pro-University. I have sought general wellness education by Tyler Tolman, Don Tolman, Joe Cross, Carl Brock, Eileen Paxton, the list goes on. Eileen lives locally in Adelaide and has taught me much about raw food and been to her wellness retreat. She is amazing. Last year, I visited Uganda on a baby potato missions trip. One of the most exciting times was potty time, where all the toddlers sit on their potty until they pooed. And they did, because they ate so much good fruit and vegetables. It was the highlight of my trip. Only a nurse could say that. They are the ones who actually need the loads of toilet paper, not Aussies. One of the things very dear to my heart is caring for orphans and children in need, because I was adopted when I was born. I love the M5N program. Initially, the humanitarian side of the company was Mana Relief, where I had the great privilege of going to a Latvian orphanage with 6 months supply of Mana bears way back in 2007. Unfortunately, due to some government challenges, the program did not continue, but I was not going to be deterred. Within a few months, I met some pastors who facilitated the program called Stitches, where they ministered to many of the new immigrants in the high rise of Melbourne. I was able to provide nutritional support for many years for 6 kids, helped by the generous contribution of supporters. The current model of M5M is amazing, run by Sarah in the USA, of which everyone is able to support by being a regular consumer of our glycans. I am very proud of the company, the mission and the values to bring health, hope and opportunity for those who are willing to embrace it. I don't have hamburger with a lot. I embrace Manatech a lot, now and forever. And thank you.
Chris, you're hilarious. That was so funny and excellent and very well-rounded in such a broad way. So I'll hand over to Robin and Kyna now.
My name is Robin Sully, and I've been with Manatech for nearly 18 years. I came into Manatech actually because of a health challenge. Having been a nurse, I decided that drugs were no answer for me following a very serious motor vehicle accident. I was under 5 different specialists for various conditions from the accident, and many of you have heard my testimony before, and that's not my purpose for being here today. Suffice it to say that for me, Manatech was a lifesaver. I want to talk this morning because we are actually in a global pandemic, and every time we turn on our news, we're confronted with a word called fear. And I think this morning, if I can do anything for all of you who are listening, dispel the fear. We need to look at facts and not fear. And I don't want to go into all the facts that WHO and St. John Hopkins and the Australian medical statistics are putting out, because if one did, fear would disappear. What I want to talk about is how you and I, as a Manatech associate, can go out there and dispel this fear. We have to understand basics. And for those of you who know me, for my journey with Manatech, it has actually been an educational journey. All one learns in nursing or in medicine today, really does not encompass what we are going to talk about in these few short moments. And that is how the immune system works, and how, with our immune system working in a good and proper fashion, we can actually have a strong immunity that is well balanced and able to withstand viruses, bacterium, pathogens, and bugs of all descriptions. So I just want to give you a quick little overview as to looking at your body as a whole. First of all, you must start with your gut. And Chris has talked about the pooping very well. And so I'm not going to go into that, but it is important to poop. When I was nursing, we were told to accept from people, patients, that they could poop only once every 3 or 4 days, and that was normal if it was for them. But we know that that's not the case. We need to empty our bowel after each meal, and we're really emptying it from the meal before. So we need to have a proper transit time through our gut. And that comes by eating whole foods, vegetables, and fruit. Drinking plenty of water so that we're irrigating the gut. So that's one handy thing you can take with you. Now, there are, good on you, Chris, get your glass of water. There are many foods that help feed our gut. And some of the Asian countries have this well in hand. They use fermented foods. That's one way you can help your gut. Start getting some different gut foods, and you'll notice that you'll sit on the toilet more than often. So that's very helpful. And have some raw vegetables. It's recommended that about 80% of our plate should actually be filled with raw vegetables, not all these beaten up, cooked up things. And definitely no packets and tins and cans and things. So that's another helpful hint you can take home. The other thing for the gut is not only what you're putting into your mouth, it's what's coming out of the inside of you. So thoughts and emotions are very important. Take cognizance of how you're thinking about things, particularly with this fear that's out there, because that can affect people's guts very badly. So we've got something we can give them for that as well. We have a wonderful product for those of you who are Manatech Associates listening, GI Pro Balance. And if you have a gut upset, take more. We've got trillions of little microbes we need to feed, so feed it more. The next thing we need to do is take a look at the actual function of the immune system. Now, our immune system needs to be balanced. If we have a balanced immune function, our immune function can kick into gear when it gets a pathogen or a bacteria or a toxin or a virus coming inside. It kicks into gear and off it goes. If it becomes overactive, it'll make a big storm inside of you. And then what happens then? It becomes overactive and it keeps on fighting, and it doesn't know to turn off. So we have to have it balanced. Now, Sharon has asked us what we would like to leave with people. My heart's desire is that we could get Ambritose and GI Pro into every home. On the media this week, we heard that one of our big mining magnates donated 10 million masks, 10 million test kits. Do you know what would be better? If he gave his money to give $10 million for our Ambritose and GI Pro Balance, and we put it into every home across this nation. So Sharon, I don't want to take much more time. I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you to everybody who tunes in and listens. And thank you to those who faithfully produce our products. We need to remember Dr. Nugent. He's in a very strategic position now at this time. And Manatech as a company globally is in an amazing position to get out there. Don't ever use the words COVID-19 or a SARS virus or anything like that. We don't need to use names. We just need to talk about our immune system, and people will gel and click. We have truth, we have science, we have validated products. We know they have efficacy in the human body, and that's so important. And all of us here testifying are living proofs that this product really, really works. And that's what matters at the end of the day. Does it work? So Sharon, thank you so much for allowing me the time to just give a quick little boost for the immune system, for gut function. They've been my heart's desire in Manatech since I started. And those of you who've heard me have always known. Gut-brain relationship, gut function, immune function. It's everything. All the money in the world will never change those things. We just need to get onto the Ambritose products. So thanks, Sharon, and all the best for all of you. Bye now.
Thanks so much, Robin. And Kyna, a duo nursing family.
Oh, yes. I guess they say things run in the family sometimes. So thank you very much, Sharon, and your wonderful team for all the time and effort that you do put in every week to making these calls fantastic for us and educational and informative and easy to access. We do appreciate that very much, and it certainly is a big valuable asset to our Manatech community, not only here in Australia, but with all the ability to listen later is fantastic to share with other people as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to share this morning. As you're aware, my name is Kyna and I am Robin's daughter, and my daytime job is I fix broken hearts. I like to use that line. I work in a cardiovascular ward at a private hospital in Brisbane, and thankfully nearly 17 years ago, I just had my Manatech anniversary last week, which was nice. And so 17 years ago, somebody very kindly shared these products with our family, specifically for my mum's health at that time, as you heard some of her story this morning. But I was always interested in nutritional products and how your body could heal itself and repair itself if it had the right tools to do the task. And I'm very thankful that Mum always gave us, when we were kids growing up, especially in wintertime, there was High Pole. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was a yummy tasting fishy omega-3 liquid. And so we'd have that every morning. And there was Waterberry's compound. I don't know if you know about that. And vitamin C. We'd always have that in the winter time to keep us strong and healthy. And so I always am thankful that I grew up with this understanding that, you know, you could take supplements to help support your health at different times of the year. But little did I know back then that we really need to take supplements each and every day to support our health from the challenges that we face in our modern environments, especially. And so then when I started working, it was a challenge because people would come into hospital all the time with different things. And it was just like we were putting Band-Aids on people's situations, never ever addressing the underlying cause. And so then when we got introduced to Manatech's technologies and glyconutrients specifically, it was wonderful to understand from a cell level how we could support the functions of the cell to support good health and well-being. And so that was very exciting. And then listening to wonderful stories and the science behind how those products work was a real eye-opening experience. So as a young person, obviously I'm a little bit younger than some of the other people on the call. You know, I didn't have a lot of health challenges, except I was constantly tired all the time. And I like to think of it perhaps as living in a life raft. And I guess that's a good analogy. You know, oftentimes we're like struggling along, getting whatever coughs, colds or flus came along, and being constantly tired and fatigued. And it wasn't a very pleasant way to live your life. Go to work, come home, sleep, eat, go to work. And that sort of cycle is not particularly exciting when you're young. And I was already taking other supplements, you know, Executive B Stress and Barocca gives you back your BB bounce. Well, I wasn't getting my BB bounce back. So thanks. Then I got tonsillitis twice in 6 weeks, and I was really feeling very awful. And I guess the thing that I really value the most is the quality ingredients that Manatech chooses to use for their products, and the extra expense and research they go into making sure that the ingredients that we have in our products really are top quality. Because if we believe our bodies are top quality machines, maybe you see Maseratis or Porsches driving around, you wouldn't put junky food fuel in those machines if you want them to run smoothly and beautifully. Well, our bodies are the same. Why would you choose to put junk in something that's a Maserati? So it's all about what you value. How much do you value your body, and how much are you prepared to put into making it work effectively? And so I'm very grateful that I have nutritional glycans to support my immune system, especially at the moment at work. You know, there's all that hustle and bustle around getting your flu shot. Have you had this? Have you had that? Oh, you get a coffee card if you have a flu shot. I mean, I don't think bribery is the way they should be making people have flu shots. And so I'm really grateful that I can know for certainty that I've got nutritional glycan and I don't have to put rubbish toxins that I don't know what they are and what they're going to do to my body. And I'm really thankful for the Manatech quality and the science, and that they have made that a focus. And also the side benefit is that we can share that with other people. You don't have to be a nurse to share or recommend a product to somebody else. We do it every single day. Somebody is always asking at the moment, what are they going to binge watch on Netflix? Well, what about binging something that can support their health and well-being? You know, so we've got something great that we can share with people. And the other fantastic thing is each time we do that, a child who suffers from malnutrition is supported. And I think that's the best part of our story. So I don't get to do that at work. No child is fed when I give out a drug. So I encourage you to share, and now's a really perfect opportunity that we have to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyna. Yeah, it just makes your heart swell to know that every time someone purchases a product from Manatech, a child somewhere in the world gets supported nutritionally. An at-risk child, typically the motherless and fatherless, the orphans. But anyone in a feeding program can. So if you want to know more about that, you can contact Manatech Corporate. And we're looking to bring that more active in Australia at a global time of such great need. So thank you so very much. And I just want to say that we don't endorse these products for a cure for any kind of disease or label. My personal experience is it doesn't matter where you are on the continuum of 0 to 100, with 0 being death and 100 being, peak health and vitality. Doesn't matter where you start on that continuum, you can take this technology and start moving towards, that 100. And I know even if people, it's not a cure for everything that, ails us on the planet, but if you have better quality of life, if you have lessening symptoms, if you do it all naturally with 0 risk, that's priceless in my opinion. So we'll probably all have an opportunity to say what's left in our hearts for people at the end, but let's move to Rachel now. Thank you so much for having this idea. It's amazing.
Thank you, Sharon. And I just, what everyone else said, that your commitment to the Saturday morning, the Australasian Connect calls, has just been very valuable to me. And my story is that I've only been with Manatech for just under 2 years. And so my introduction to Manatech it did actually happen about 8 years earlier, where I was doing a home health assessment on a lady who had, and she gave me a little folder with a whole lot of brochures. And so I took that folder and I read all the information in it, and then I just parked it, because something in me thought, if something like that does that, it must cost a lot of money. And so I just parked that, and one day I was going to, when I had money, I would guinea pig myself on that product for 6 months before I'd tell anybody about it, And so my life went on for, 6 years. And then my husband had a near fatal accident, and that threw our family into a spiral of, a roller coaster you just can't get off. And 2 months into that journey, I was the sole breadwinner. We planned to move house 2 weeks after he had the accident, so I had to move a house, and he was in and out hospital hours away and things like that. And I just knew I was just about not to cope. I didn't really have any health conditions that I was ailed with or anything, but I just thought, I'm just about not to cope now as a mum with 2 and Mike sick. And so I actually searched out, I even rang the Manatech office. I found the name and rang the office, and the lady there said that, you know, you need to find somebody to introduce you to the product, so she wouldn't help me on the phone. I thought, is this in marketing? It's so good that you can't even get it over the phone, you know. So anyway, so eventually a friend of mine had heard of it, and her friend 2 hours away had something to do with it. And so I was able to ask her some questions. And so then the nurse in me had a lot of questions which she couldn't fully answer. Simply, I wanted to know what they were called. And the name I was after was ambertose, because I just knew it was these glyconutrients, and there was 8, but I didn't know how to ask for them. And so this lady in Newcastle ended up putting me through to a gentleman called Rod Gilchrist on the phone, who actually has a very scientific background, who understood the technology. And so I was able to get ambertose complex for myself. But at the same time, I told him my husband's story. And as a result of that, he said he needs this and this. And so, Chris, as you'd appreciate, my husband had a nasojejunal tube. And after 3 months, I brought him home from hospital. I fed him another 6 months via the tube. And it was a synthetic liquid made in China. He always joked about that. And, you know, we were told by the surgeon, do not put anything else down that tube. But when we were with the dietitians, she said, if he gets constipated, pop a bit of Benny fibre down the tube. So, you know, good old registered nurse, we're the ones that put things down tubes, aren't we? So, so I thought, right. And when I was speaking to Rod Gilchrist, he was so knowledgeable about it. I said, this product is going to be delivered down his nasojejunal tube and delivered into the small bowel. Will the product be able to be absorbed at that point? You know, I had no experience with the product at all. And he said, yes, it would. Well, my husband, who was actually on maintenance and a half, and nurses here would know what that means, to try and even just maintain his weight, we snuck Menopol down the tube and some Nutriveris down the tube. And then so that was Mike's introduction, but my introduction was for coping, and I coped, you know. So was it the product or was it not? But our family had benefited so greatly, all of us, that we then decided we saw the opportunity to distribute the product. And the reason that was because I dropped my nursing for 3 months solid to be beside Mike in hospital, but I only came out and I had 2 casual nursing shifts. So I thought to myself, well, the days I don't nurse, I will do this. And so that's where it positioned me as a distributor in this amazing company. Now, these nurses here would know, but I was one of those nurses that even if the lecturer told me at university how some part of the body worked, unless I read it in a textbook, I didn't actually believe the lecturer. So, so as a result, if you ever want to just go and grab your biochemistry textbook, chapter 46, all on glycobiology, I was then able to research a couple of these products. And so what I did is I took ambertose and Menopol and I studied them as far as I could. And then I also studied Osaline. It was one that I thought I should take, so I did. And I studied that right down to the detail. And, you know, those products, the sheer science behind those products let my confidence go across the whole product range. I thought, if they've done this type of science and this type of detail and rationale behind these products, then my confidence just went over every other product in our range. And as some of you girls have mentioned, that we have an amazing world-class scientific laboratory. We have nanotechscience.org website, a transparent company that you can go and see some of the science. And also this company is traded on the NASDAQ, so it has to be transparent in order to be a viable company. So and so that's part of my journey, how I was introduced to Manatech. But simply as a nurse, we want to help, we want to alleviate suffering, we want to prevent suffering, and we want to bring comfort to people. And you know, when you go and do your RNs and registered nurse course, and then you come out and you go into the hospital setting to consolidate those skills. Then I popped out and I became a midwife. I did a diploma in midwifery. And then you come back and you go back into the hospital setting and you sort of get stuck in there sometimes. you know. And so what I felt, so as a midwife, I did that. I did some rehab nursing, I did radiology nursing. I've just come out of 4 years of rural remote emergency nursing, and I've just started this year in GP land to do some GP nursing. And but what I realised, as you know, the life spectrum of Chris there as well, is that I've delivered them. I've rehabbed very elderly men and women post strokes. But the most powerful form of nursing is prevention. And so to prevent you experiencing something is the power of nursing. Not that I can put a PICC line in or decompress your pneumothorax in your chest. That's there for the day, but it's not the power of nursing. If I can stop you going into those buildings, that's the power of nursing. And then I thought, oh yes, all right, let's do all that screening, you know, I'll move myself into screening people. And I thought I was right on the edge of helping people prevent disease. But when you screen people, you're actually performing early detection. So you're not actually preventing a disease process, you're detecting it early. And so I haven't prevented it again, you know. So, you know, you go and have your pap smears and your bowel screens, but there's no prevention there. It's picking it up early, so the intervention is less. And so then I thought, oh no, that's not, you know, the prevention there is actually education, and that I tell you not to smoke and you don't, then I prevented something there, you know. Or, you know, we should walk or exercise, or, as you know, Robin beautifully put about whole foods, raw veggies and fruit and fermented foods. That's education. If you take that and implement it, she's prevented something for you that you'll never know because it was prevented. So I had this real dilemma. Okay, now I've gone from actually helping you to early detection so that your intervention is less when we detect something, you know, and cellular food. So a healthy cell equals a healthy human. And so this is where the power of nursing lies in this company, you know. And I see why it's attracted the nurses, because we actually see that there's quality plant-based and natural products in the Manatech range, that when you consume these plant-based foods or natural foods, your body knows what to do with it. When your body consumes a synthetic supplement, it can take, the research says it can only take 6% of, you know, the synthetic nature and put it into your bloodstream, because your body doesn't know what to do with the rest of it, and most of the time it's toxic to you, so it just parks it in the fat, you know, so to keep you safe. And so so here I found myself, a company literally being handed to me, shown to me, that resonates with my heart. Because, you know, Mike and I have always said, you're going to pay for your health one day. So you're going to pay for your prevention products now if you just choose to invest in plant-based good quality supplements, and here you'll find it all in Manatech, but there's other things out there. But secondly, if you don't invest your money now, you'll have to invest your money later and your health later to actually stay well and guard your lifestyle and your ability to live life to the fullest, you know. So that's a bit of a hard concept to explain, but you know, I've seen people in Manatech who have gone before me, like even Sharon and those on the call here, that you know, they go off to reunions and people look at them and think they're years younger than they should be. You know, what have they prevented by taking these amazing supplements for years, you know? So yeah, so that's my heart around it, to prevent disease. The most powerful form of nursing is prevention. And it's not early detection, and it's not the secondary setting where we put you back together. We're absolutely excellent for that when you have car accidents and things like this, but our hospitals are filled with people with chronic diseases, and they just patch you and send you back to your GP, you know. So that's the reality of our health service there. So yeah, and on this introduction to this call today, I think Sharon might have penned this, but she said many nurses are attracted to this technology almost exclusively because of the science and the results they see that defy their previous knowledge. And that's what's happening to the people I see around me. So thank you, Sharon, for seeing that this little 2-year-old Manatech consuming nurse is and been invited on this call.
Oh, Rachel, you know, all of us, I'm sure everybody listening today will agree with me that we love your perspective. You bring a very unique and precise and concise vision into what we have. So that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And I'm very grateful for your contribution to our community already, even though, you know, you kind of dismiss it by saying you're new. You have a very powerful contribution to all of us. Now, I think that was, you know, absolutely perfect. And the one thing I'm going to say in completion for me, and then everybody else can as well, is that Manatech has blessed my life in every single aspect. You know, not only because I can proudly commit to the mission of the M5M Foundation in feeding orphans. I can commit to the mission of our technology and our message in assisting people being the most well aspect of themselves they ever could be. But I also have earned income in partnership with Manatech. And that has blessed our family in a way that I also can't, you know, it's hard to describe, because I've got a check now every week for 22 years. You know, it took me a while to get started because I was so skeptical. I was busy looking at how they're trying to scam me, but I started to have such good results I couldn't question anymore. And then I started studying to learn everything I could about it. And not because you have to, because you just have to take these products and they work. But I was passionate and I was interested. I wanted to learn, so I did. So, you know, the income blesses us. People in our planet right now are praying for what we have. And we have to be the best stewards of this education in order for them to know we're here. And sometimes it takes more than once. You know, like Rachel said, for me, it was the same. Other people told me, and for whatever reason, these women there was sort of like I'm a spiritual person, and I'm into sort of goddessy type spirituality. And it was just the right circle for me to hear this, to open my mind enough to listen to a 30-minute cassette. So I think what we have is very powerful, and we are duty bound to share it. So Chris, what would you like to say in completion?
Last week was Anzac Day, something that has a deep place in my heart. I've marched for decades with the Legacy Group in honour of my father, who fought in the Second World War and who died when I was a young teenager. The Battle of Gallipoli for the Anzacs was a big failure in the number of casualties. At first, it may seem strange that we would want to remember a campaign that was a failure. But the legacy of those Anzacs is not built on who won or lost. Rather, the legacy of those Anzacs is built on the spirit that was forged when they refused to give up the fight. A spirit that would characterize the valor of you ordinary humans who, in the face of extreme circumstances, rose to extraordinary things. A spirit that would be synonymous with attributes such as courage, sacrifice, generosity, mateship, freedom, and a fair go for all. And a spirit that would carry with it such a sense of national pride, it would come to define what being an Aussie is all about. And today, we're talking to a group which incorporates Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, the Australasian Manatech community. At this time in our Manatech history, we are to be as one, striving to restore good health in the community, particularly as the world grapples with coronavirus. Whether you're an Australian, Kiwi, or Singaporean by birth, by choice, or here temporarily, we are now charged with being custodians and stewards of this spirit. We must therefore work to protect it, strive to display it, and be conscious to pass it on to the generations to come. So let good health and hope prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And Robin and Kyna?
Sharon, I want to leave something of the concept of foundations. I've always believed that for the success of anything in life, the foundation must be solid, because whatever you build on a foundation, the edifice will either stand or fall. And that is true in our health, It is true in our minds, it is true in our lives, and it is true in every area. So when I listened last Saturday night, Sunday morning to the webinar that Manatech put on in the US, Manatech Live, I was so excited when I heard Dr. Nugent and our CEO, Al Balla, say that now we can truly say we are the immune function company. And it took my mind back all those years when I read Linda Castor's book, that the foundation of Manatech was actually in a lounge room. So we in Manatech, I want to leave you with this. We've got food that we can feed the world with. So for all of you listening, go out there, embrace this gift that we have, which was founded so long ago. So that's my message to everybody. Get out there, we've got a gift, share it. And the children in malnourished conditions will embrace us eternally. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, Mom. We'll go, yes, Mom.
Yes, Mum.
Yeah.
I am. I just turned 70. Hey.
I know we range from 30-something
Yeah, just still.
to
She's
70-something.
39 soon.
Yes, I'm 63 soon. So, Kyna.
Yeah, I think the wonderful thing is that we invest in a lot of things in our lives, and I think the best investment that we can have is, you know, we all maybe have health insurance, but to have health assurance through taking and supplying our bodies with food-based nutritional supplements like Rachel has mentioned has been the biggest blessing. And I think we have that blessing that we can share with other people. So you don't have to be a nurse. Actually, sometimes nurses are very closed-minded, can I just say? They're very much stuck in their little, well, if it's not a disease and you don't have a drug to fit this problem, well, then I don't want to hear about it. But so, you know, it wasn't a nurse who shared with us. It was somebody who was very persistent and shared 6 times before we listened. So don't give up on anybody and keep sharing, because you just never know. Like Rachel, it took her years before she actually started to take the products, even though she had that packet of information. So keep sowing the seed and eventually the harvest will come. So I think, you know, we have a wonderful seed that we can share with people, and the harvest will come, and that harvest will be health and wellness for those people who choose to embrace what we have to share. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyna. And Rachel.
And this is just such an amazing Manatech family. You know, I gather that you've all been here for many, many years. And, you know, if you're sharing Manatech with people, just understand that it's a supportive community. It does, the Manatech family is that word, a family, another people, group of people that you belong to, can connect to, and to jump onto that. And I mentioned earlier about how much I thought Manatech cost in my testimony of the lady's hands. And I thought, because of that result, it'll be $1,000 a month. And I didn't have that as a mother with a young family. And then when I learned that Ambitose Complex was $149 a month, I was blown away that something, so I was ready to pay thousands of dollars for this technology from the results of that I saw in this lady's hands. And so just know that this is such an affordable option for that assurance of health, as Kyna said, going forward. And you know, connecting with a Manatech associate or being a Manatech associate, plugging into the Manatech family and engaging each other is part of the wellness that Robin mentioned, that we need to have our thoughts and minds and community together. It's all found in Manatech. So yeah, thank you, Sharon, for today.
Thank you, Rachel. And Maria had asked me to repeat my story of starting with Manatech, so I'll just do that quickly in the last couple of minutes because my internet was not serving us at the beginning. So I was introduced at a dinner party to this technology. At that time, I was unable to work and I was on a government pension because I had a very fatiguing type illness. And my history, oh, it's giving me an unstable internet sign again. My history was one of, you know, I actually was unwell from infancy in multiple ways and had challenges where at times in my life I was on very high doses of steroids. So you couple that with working 12-hour shifts for decades and working in an anesthetic ward, breathing in all the anesthetics. I think that toppled me over the edge, to be honest, by the time I'd reached my 40s. So when I heard about this technology at a dinner party, I'd heard about it before, and I was just, because it was network marketed, I just completely rejected it. But these women at this dinner party, they just said, listen, I think this might help you, and just review the education. It's only 30 minutes. If it doesn't make any sense to you, then there's no harm done, is there? So talking to me like that, I couldn't really say no, because I didn't want to out myself as being closed-minded, which I was. So I listened to the tape. I still remember to this day the light bulb moment. And it was so simple that our food isn't full of nutrition like it used to be. I wouldn't go a day without it. My children now have grown on it since birth, well, before birth. In utero had it, and then they had it in every bottle that they've ever had, and then now they get it every day, and they now are learning to be self-responsible to take their supplements. And so I want to thank everybody who's here today and who's listening to this in the future. Please give Manatech a chance. It'll only bless you, and really don't keep it to yourself. People literally are praying for what we have, and we have a solution like no other. So have a great week. Next week, we're going to be talking about the business, which some of you listening today, come and listen to Ty. He's talking about why Manatech and why now. How many people have lost their incomes overnight? Hundreds of thousands of people are struggling and looking for how they can ethically, a lot of people want an ethical business. And even if it's not going to be your full-time gig, a side gig is the right solution for right now as well. So have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week, same bat channel. And God bless you all. Thank you. Love you guys. Thanks so much.